The first thing that you do is you will notice that there's two rings on each side of this trap here and something we call the turnbuckles. To open this trap and make it remain open, you want to put those rings around the turnbuckles themselves. A real easy way to do that is just to put your knee into the back of the trap, pull back on the base, and then stick the turnbuckles around the rings. And once they are around the rings, now the trap can't fold up again. It remains open. The next thing you want to do then is lay the trap flat in front of you with the V base being towards you. You want to make sure that the trigger mechanism here is free and clear from any obstacle, and that the tongue mechanism here is also free and clear from any obstacle. You will then put your right foot on the right side of the base and your left foot on the left side of the base, bend over, grab the chain link and pull back on it. Once you have some tension on it, then you put your thumbs on the top of each one of the latches. These latches are on top of the base or of the jaw itself, so that when the trap snaps, it holds it together so that the beaver or otter cannot open the trap once it's shut. Pull back on the bottom jaw, the jaw with the chain link, push down, take the trigger mechanism and put it up through the second diamond of the chain link. Not the one that's closest to the jaw, but the next one away from that. Put your knees on the jaw itself. Put the trigger into the slot of the base where you'll see that it fits into the slot. Put the tongue down onto the trigger mechanism itself, and over here by the pan you will see that there's a little 1-inch ring. That's the safety ring. Put that safety ring over the tongue so that it will remain open and the trap cannot snap at this point. I simply just bring a piece of 2x4 or a 2x2 piece of pine that's approximately 42 inches in length, and I would then just put it in between the bottom jaw and the top jaw when it's set, so that if the trap accidentally went off when you're still trying to set it, the jaws couldn't come together and therefore there wouldn't be any problem. The next thing is you want to bait this trap before you actually set it in the water. And today we're going to set for a beaver. So what I do is I just go nip some twigs or some branches off of an existing tree in the area, and I cut them into about 1 foot lengths. I do this just with a little cutter or a little snipper that I use, and once I get the bait all together, you want to get enough so that it's about as big around as your wrist, and anywhere from a foot to 16, 18 inches in length. After you get your bait, and this is eye appeal and bait for the beaver, then you would wire it to the back of the trap. Now this trap is going to be set in water, and the back of the trap, the one that sits up, is actually going to be out of the water itself. The chain link will be underwater. So depending on the depth of the water you're going to set this trap at, you want to make sure that this bait is wired to the back of the trap so it remains 6 to 10 inches above the water. Tie this bait to the back of the trap using a piece of just baling wire so that it sets, again, 6 to 10 inches above the water. Just tie it in place with baling wire and have it ready to go. I keep the 2x4 in it while I'm doing this, so that in case it did snap or something went wrong, it can't close on you and therefore you wouldn't be harmed. So when you set the trigger mechanism on it, again, put your knees on the front of the jaw to hold it down. You don't have to have much pressure on it, just enough to hold it down. Bend over, and this little mechanism on the pan assembly base itself is called the dog. The dog would then go over the tongue, and you would set the pan on the dog, and at the same time holding the pan up, you would remove the safety ring that holds the tongue so it can't snap. Now the trap is completely set. Now, like I say, we're ready to put this trap into the water itself. The safety is off. We still have the 2x4 stuck in between the jaws, so in case it did snap, it wouldn't do any harm to you. Pick up the back of the trap, keeping your elbows bent so that it could take any shock in case it did snap, and you set it in the water. You then want to take this stake and the chain and bring it back as far as you can go. And even by picking up the bottom of the trap a little bit when you're pulling on it, you push the stake in, pound it into the ground. So now it's almost taut. The next thing you want to do is, and this is a very important part of any set for either beaver or otter, and that is to lure the animals. So I use either a commercial grade beaver lure or I make my own beaver lure from dried out beaver casters. What I do is I take a dry stick that you'll find in the area there, dip it into the lure itself, get a good glob of this beaver lure on it, and then stick it right in the middle of your eye appeal or your bait, right at the top of the trap where everything is at. The set is basically completed now. We have it staked in, we have it baited, and most essentially we have it lured. We need to have lure on there to catch beaver, and you need to have a very good bait to catch otters too, unless you're good enough with this trap to blind set where the otters are on the shore, and you can catch them in blind sets without bait too. I've caught several of them that way. Now the last thing you want to do is simply remove your 2x4. The trap is set,